Lawmakers passing much-needed tax reform this week, but one senator's motivation for voting yes is under fire. Listen.
Senator Corker announced his decision to support the final bill, and he is facing backlash over a last-minute change to the legislation being dubbed the Corker kickback.
The 20% deduction for pass-through income, also now being called the Corker kickback, would cost the government alone, just by that change.
But the senator said he had nothing to do with the provision. So has Senator Corker been a victim of the fake news trend, just like President Trump, that many people thought was just a slogan? Tennessee Senator Bob Corker, chairman of Foreign Relations, and I would have to say one of the most respected on both sides of the aisle in the Senate chamber. Senator, what is the Corker kickback?
Look, this is a travesty that something like this would be put forth. Look, the fact is, this was a provision that came from the House of Representatives. Brian, I've had zero impact on a word of the tax policy. I've focused on deficits. The reporter that wrote about this knew I was unaware of the provision. I sat down with leadership on Thursday and walked through the differences between the House and Senate bill as it was actually being published, if you will. And this was not a provision that was even brought up. The reporter calls, he knows I'm unaware of it, and then all of a sudden turns it around as if this had some impact on a decision that I'd already made. The president called yesterday. We had a warm conversation about numbers of issues. I told him that I'd had a healthy respect for the media. I deal with them all the time, and you know, to attack the media has not been something I've done. But I had a newfound empathy for him in watching how a totally debunked story, debunked by everybody involved, Orrin Hatch, Kevin Brady, the guys that actually wrote this bill, knew I had nothing whatsoever to do with it. But then you have this reporter who says this. All of a sudden, people that I respect in the news media, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, people start printing this as if it's true. A social media phenomenon generates from this, and I've never ever in my life used the word fake news until today. I actually understand what it is the president has been dealing with.
And roughly, I know you don't like to go verbatim because it's a confidence between you two, but roughly, what was his reaction when you told him that? Did he laugh? Did he empathize?
Yeah, he just mentioned that he'd been dealing with this for over a year. Look, I'm sorry. I've witnessed it firsthand. It is not good. I know other people have witnessed the same. Look, as I mentioned to him, just have a newfound empathy for what he and others have been dealing with in this regard.
And both of you are fighters. You didn't get successful in your business without mixing it up, even though you have different approaches. So your instinct is to fight back. And I watched you on CNN with Wolf Blitzer, and he asked the same question 9 times about something you know fundamentally didn't happen.
Yeah. No, I know, and again, you know, Brian, I think it's difficult for people to understand that when you make a decision on these big votes, you've got to decide, is the country better off with this or not? And you've got to make a decision based on all the facts you have. Look, I've been very concerned about deficits here in our country. I think people know that. There's no doubt that over a $43 trillion revenue base over the next 10 years, there is the possibility of a $500 billion gap. But at the end of the day, to cause our companies to be competitive around the world, to keep companies from locating in other places, to continue to build on this dynamism that we have here in our nation, I felt like this was the right thing to do. But yes, unbelievable the way this has been handled.
Well, Senator, real quick, you're chairman of Foreign Relations. You want to be tough on Russia, and this administration's been labeled as being weak on Russia. Something happened yesterday significant. You've decided to, and the president confirmed, lethal weapons to the Ukraine to take on those separatists backed by Russian government and sanction 5 more Russian officials.
That's right. Yeah, Brian, I passed that bill, okay, that encouraged this with a Democratic counterpart. We could not get President Obama to send them any defensive lethal weapons. They sent them night vision goggles that were used. They sent them MREs, these little prepackaged meals. We could not get them to do this. And here, this president at this time with his national security team is finally doing what people on both sides of the aisle have tried to get administrations to do. So I'm thankful it's happening. And certainly it shows a pushback. I mean, these weapons are to defend Ukraine against Russia's aggression. So very happy this has occurred.
See if people jot that down, too. Senator Bob Corker, thanks so much for clearing up the record.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.